Yo, what up, y'all? It's your boy Rob coming back at you once again with some more news, reviews, and reactions. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit the bell icon twice. To be about a topic, it's just basically stuff that we didn't get to that in my opinion, I think is important, and I think that you guys would be interested in. Okay, so let me ask you guys a question. How do you all feel about drag in public? Do you guys feel that people should be wearing drag in public all over the place, or no? If you guys feel that people should, give me a thumbs up. If you guys feel that people shouldn't, give me a thumbs down. If you're as confused as I am as to why that's even a question or a thing, go ahead and put a laughing emoji in the comment section. Shout out to my man Mike Mellis John. So the Tennessee Senate has passed a bill that would criminalize public drag cabaret performances. Okay. If you guys agree with that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. I think that what should be criminalized is minors being present at those things. As much as that's not my lifestyle and it's not my thing. If you are with consenting adults, whatever, I think what the restriction needs to be on is kids' access to this, because what's happening is that you're seeing these kind of things in proximity to where kids are, and that's the issue. Hey, you want to be a freak, or you know what I'm saying, you got some stuff that you like, or whatever. I ain't got no problem with that. Whatever. Don't let that bleed into what's going on with children. Also, I don't think people should be reinforcing people to believe that they're things that they're not. That's crazy. If I looked at a fire and I said, I believe that this is water because I feel like it's water, it's not going to feel like it's water when I walk into it and burn alive. Now, is it? So that strategy doesn't work when it comes to everything. So why we're doing that with all of these quote unquote identity issues it's really beyond me. I don't understand how or why this is even a thing, but it is. So here we go.
The bill restricting where certain drag shows can take place has passed through the Tennessee Senate. Lawmakers voted 26-6 in favor of the bill, with only Democrats opposing. Amelia Young joins us live with the latest on this. And Amelia, some are saying this wrongly targets the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, Ben, that's
okay. Let me ask you guys off the rip. Do you all feel that this wrongly targets the LGBTQ community? If you guys feel that it does, give me a thumbs up. If you guys feel that it doesn't, give me a thumbs down. I don't know how that would be the case, but I'm interested to see what they say. Shout out to Bronze and shout out to Italia. What up with it?
right, that it would infringe on the constitutional rights of some of the performers, but those that are for it argue that it just clarifies what's crossing the line when it comes to harmful things that children can see. Now, essentially, the bill would make it illegal for kids to be at drag shows or any other adult performances where they're exposed to sexual content.
I don't see a problem with that. So clearly the bill is something similar to what I was saying. It's something that's restricting their access to kids. I don't understand why they need to have kids around to do this. See, like, just the fact that they're offended that people don't want their kids around us. I don't want my kids around people doing anything sexual, regardless if you're heterosexual or LGBTQ. I don't feel that it's appropriate. I feel that kids are, when they're of an appropriate age, they to make those decisions using their best judgment. That's when they should be making those decisions. I don't think that adults should be forcing themselves around kids. I think that's stupid. I think it's inappropriate. I think that it's a complete disrespect of the parents' authority over their children. And what I need to understand is I need to understand the need that these people have to present this around kids instead of presenting it to other adults. I don't get it. You know what I'm saying?
Under the Senate's bill, the words drag show are not explicitly stated. Instead, the bill expands the definition of adult cabaret to include adult oriented performances that are harmful to minors. It then bans adult cabaret from taking place on public property or where minors might be present. It's not clear, though.
And I think when they do that, they did that specifically to make sure that schools were off limits. That's just my assumption. I don't know if that's what they did or why they did it, but I think that that was the motivation behind that.
How the law would be enforced and how it would affect things like drag brunches or performers who wear drag attire during parade events. The bill is now going to move on to the House, which is debating a slightly different version. Now, if this bill does become a law, it would take effect July 1st. Just a week before that, though, was when the Nashville Pride Parade's happening. That's June 24th. So, of course, we'll keep you updated on any advancements of this legislation.
The bill restricts.
So now, what do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that that's good news or is that bad news? I'm interested to see how it goes. I think Tennessee is pretty, when it comes to that kind of state, I don't think they're really with all of that drag queen at school stuff. So I think they should be able to easily get that passed. So now here's some more claims of excessive violence against the Memphis police, the Scorpion unit. Okay. More the claims about these guys just keep coming out. They keep coming out. They keep coming out. There's going to be a slew. There's going to be a ongoing and forever slew of reports of past police violence when it comes to the Scorpion unit by the time that this is all over. You know what I'm saying?
Tonight, we're learning of yet another lawsuit filed against the Memphis PD following Nichols' death. A lawsuit that, if successful, could cost Memphis taxpayers millions. Zaria Oates spoke with the lawyer who's suing the department over an encounter he says happened back in February of 2021. So Zaria, what's new here?
Well, this case is a little different than some of the others we've been diving into, but the lawyer believes if the police department handled other incidents with members of the Scorpion unit properly, Tyree Nichols could still be alive today. The encounter at the center of this lawsuit happened about 2 years ago, and now the woman involved is taking legal action.
We will sue the city of Memphis, the Memphis Police Department, the chief of police, and each of the officers involved that night.
Khadijah Towns says she was just trying to get a movie from a red box in Parkway Village when she was approached by multiple Memphis police officers. According to the report her lawyer provided us with, the officers on the scene were responding to a reported shooting, but when asked about it, Towns told them she didn't see or hear anything. Later, the officers asked to see her ID, and that's when she says the situation became hostile. Towns says in an attempt to detain her, the officers re-injured her shoulder, which she had problems with in the past.
She had my left arm, and she kind of pulled me by my left arm, and that's when she asked, I guess, for help or whatever, and that's when Demetrius kind of jacked me up, and him jacking on one arm and Trevor jacking on the other arm.
She was later charged with resisting arrest. As they take on this case against the department, Moore brought up Chief C.J. Davis's previous time at the Atlanta Metropolitan Police Department, where allegedly complaints were made against another organized crime unit created under Chief Davis. While we have confirmed that only one of the 4 officers mentioned in the report was part of the Scorpion unit, we are awaiting further information on whether the 3 others were involved in any other organized crime units. Tonight, some are calling for Chief Davis to step down.
Resign today.
So now what you guys see is that, shout out to my man Jared, there calls for Chief CJ Davis to step down. That's where we're at. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that Chief CJ Davis should step down, given all the information that we have about this particular incident? If you guys think that she should, give me a thumbs up. If you guys think that she shouldn't, give me a thumbs down. I think she should. I'm not even gonna sit up here and lie. I think she should, for real. It's too much linking her to it. And she also has a shady past. Yeah, exactly, Gullah Jack. CJ. Woo-wee. Shout out PD Chicago B1. What up with it, bro?
Get fired is what she needs. She is the problem. She brought the problem to Memphis. And so just deactivating the unit is not going to do. Somebody is dead. and somebody needs to be held accountable.
For now, Towns and her lawyer are just hoping for more accountability within MPD. I did reach out to the Memphis Police Department about this incident. So far, I have not heard back. I'm Zaria Oates.
All right, so far she hasn't heard back. So now this right here, this took place in UK, okay? And this was also an incident that went down with police officers. Wait till you guys see this. Wait till you guys see the headline on this. You're not going to believe this. Look at that headline. Look at that. Can you guys see the headline? Shout out to King Goma. Welcome. Everybody drop some radiation emojis to King Goma for joining. Also, if you guys haven't smashed that like button, help your boy out. Smash that like button. If you haven't hit the bell, do like King Goma and hit that bell. Vile police officer caught with infant grape video faces the sack. If I'm not mistaken, they're not even planning on putting this guy in jail. Okay. Thomas Woods from New Longton was spared jail despite downloading thousands of child abuse images over 10 years. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Why was this guy spared jail? This is something that usually puts you right into jail. Why would he be spared jail? I don't think this dude should be spared jail. This is Trife. This is him. Ironically, it says PC. Thomas Woods was handed a suspended sentence after being found guilty of being in possession of indecent images of children. What were you doing? Why did you have those images? You know what I'm saying? So now here says a police officer from Lancashire who was spared jail after being caught with thousands of child abuse images will face a misconduct hearing next week. What makes them make a decision to just not put him into jail? That's crazy. PC Thomas Woods looks almost certain to be sacked by Greater Manchester Police when his case goes before a misconduct panel on February 14th. Woods of Brookdale, New Longton, was given a suspended sentence in October last year despite being caught with a sickening collection of more than 2,000 indecent images of children accrued over a decade long. So he was able to accrue all of these images for an entire decade. For an entire decade. Yeah, I agree with Al. You're trifling, bruh. Among the evil collection was a video of a girl believed to be just 4 years old being raped. And this sick bastard was watching that. Minsall Street Crown Court heard that discernible pain and suffering by children was an aggravating feature of the case. In total, Wood's 2 phones contained 2,567 indecent images. 678 of those were in the quote-unquote most serious category. So I guess they have some type of categories. You know what I'm saying? The sickening haul was uncovered when Wood's pregnant wife looked at his phone, suspecting he was having an affair. The woman, who is also a police officer, asked advice from a friend after her husband claimed the images were being used as part of an investigation to quote unquote lure predators in. Isn't that something? And he turned out to be the predator. He turned out to be the predator. Shout out to Hob. What up with it, bro? The friend was skeptical and reported Woods to the police, and he was arrested after GMP's sexual offenses unit confirmed no such investigation was taking place. The images had been downloaded over the course of a decade, starting before he became a police officer, GMP said after. Woods, who had been working in the Salford area, pleaded guilty to 3 counts of making indecent images, possessing a prohibited image of a child, and possessing extreme pornography. He was given a 16-month sentence, suspended for 2 years, and ordered to complete 180 hours of unpaid work and a 1030 rehabilitation activity requirement days. He was also made subject to a sexual harm prevention order for 5 years and will have to sign the sex offenders register for 10 years. Let me ask you guys a question. How do you all feel about his punishment? How do you all feel about his punishment? His punishment is a little bit slap on the wrist-ish, if you ask me. You know what I'm saying? What do you guys think? I think that punishment is just a little bit slap on the wrist-ish. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, we got 44 people in the chat and we got 26 likes. If everybody can take a moment and smash that like button and help get us some more likes, get it closer to the amount of viewers that we got in here, that would be awesome. And also, if you guys have not shared the video to your social media, please help your boy out by sharing it to your social media. And I got to agree with PD Chicago B1. It's a slap on the wrist compared to others. Big facts. Okay. Big facts. Now that's disgusting. And that's what we got going on overseas. Okay. Now we're going to go back to Penn Live. All right. Because Penn Live has some really interesting information about these police situations and about these situations that go down in jail. Okay. This is an article here that talks about PA police agencies keeping tight lids on officer misconduct records. Now, let me ask you guys a question before we get started into this. Isn't this something that the news kind of just glosses over when it comes to these issues, like when we're talking about like a Demetrius Haley or somebody like that, you know, or a Derek Chauvin? The mainstream media never really goes into what the police department did or how extensive of background checks it did on these officers. Why do you guys think that is? You would think that that would be something that would be extremely important. You would think that that would be something that would be extremely focused on, because that's probably something that's extremely influential to outcomes with police and fatal shootings or police harming civilians. But they don't say anything. So now here it says, after the high-profile beating death of Tyree Nichols by Memphis police, local residents have raised concerns that police agencies in Pennsylvania basically police themselves for misconduct. Isn't that interesting? Let me ask you guys a question. How long have we been saying that? And let's just put this out on the table. That is what happens, right? Like, that's not something that's made up. That is actually indeed what happens. What ends up happening is that these people end up policing themselves. I mean, that's beyond a doubt. That's what internal affairs is, right? They're out here policing themselves. Under Pennsylvania law, police agencies are allowed to keep a tight lid on complaints, disciplinary action, and use of force reports, making it nearly impossible for the public to know if local officers have bad records. Well, there you go. And then if something happens, I guarantee you it's just as hard. It's just as hard to get those records released. That's why it takes the news so long to get their FOIA requests answered. So now here it says some agencies provide the number of citizens' complaints filed and whether they were substantiated or not, but no details. Those statistics show that most complaints end up being deemed unfounded by the police. And then what ends up happening when something like the Tyree Nichols case happens? So the thing is that like there's always warning signs, but within the police system, within the criminal justice system, there is always, always, always a way, it seems like, to be able to circumvent the criminal justice system, circumvent providing information that's necessary. Seems like it always happens. Now, my question is, if we're actually dealing with police reform, why are we still seeing the same things? All that happens is that new articles about this stuff get written each time. Shout out to OG Patrice. That's all that ever happens. There's literally never any change. Never any change. So now here it says we have a bad public access law about public employees discipline. Melissa Melowinski, a Pennsylvania News Media Association attorney, told Penn Live in 2020, we get virtually nothing. Pennsylvania has a state board dedicated to training and certifying officers, but none for investigating police misconduct. So now here's my question. How does police misconduct get investigated then? Shout out to my man, Torian Rain. What up with it, bro? Yeah, I agree, Ed. It's all lip service. How many of you guys knew that Pennsylvania does not have a board dedicated to investigating police for misconduct? Let me ask you guys a question. Did you all just think that that was something? Did you all think that that's something that existed with every locality or every state? So now here it says the local district attorney investigates after a fatal police shooting and can look into other incidents referred to their office, but they only review whether the officer's conduct was criminal, not whether it was necessary, avoidable, or against department policy. If police departments want to build trust with residents, they should release the full scope of officer-involved investigations, not just the bare bones statistics, according to Harrisburg advocate Winnie Okello. It's like you're giving us empty calories at best when we're saying, give us some meat and potatoes, she said. People are not going to trust you if you don't give them a reason to. Okello launched a police tracking system, HARP Now. So what is now going into that stuff that we talked about in the last article like this, all right? So we don't need to read too much more of this. But what we got out of this is that in Pennsylvania, shout out to Director Kudo, in Pennsylvania, they don't have any kind of system to investigate the police officers. They don't have any system for it, which means that if they don't have any system for it, in most cases, it's probably not happening. It's probably not happening. How many of you guys follow the Marshall Project? If you guys follow the Marshall Project, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't follow the Marshall Project, give me a thumbs down. I got an article here from the Marshall Project, and it's talking about Joe Biden promised a police misconduct database. He's yet to deliver. It says here, in the aftermath of Tyree Nichols' killing, some are questioning the administration's urgency on police reform. What do you guys think? There's a lot of people who are making videos on YouTube. There's a lot of people who are making content, and they're saying, you know, this happened because of the lack of legislation that the Democrats provided. And I would definitely agree. That was definitely a contributing factor. That's definitely a contributing factor. What do you guys think? Yeah, I kind of agree, King Goma. There needs to be some. I don't even know if the there should be an independent party. I just put it like that. Like I agree with everything that you said right here, except for the part about it being a division in the government. I don't think that it should be a government division. I think it should be an independent party. But everything else, I agree with. Right. And see, yeah, I agree, Katsy. I wouldn't trust the government to deliver any results. It would have to be an independent party for me. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be able to trust the government. Now, the thing that's interesting, if I gotta let me try to find this article real quick. If we got time, I'm gonna show you guys this other article. But if we don't have time, we'll just talk about it next time I go live on this channel. So I just want to see. Okay, yeah. They have a citizen oversight board, and you're hearing more about things like that. But I don't know who nominates them. So what we're going to do is we're going to look next time if I'm not able to get to this, we're going to look at how the oversight board in one area is chosen, and we're going to ask the question, do we feel that this is selecting the best people to oversee this process? You know what I'm saying? So now here it says last May, President Joe Biden sat with family members of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor in the White House as he signed an executive order he called the most significant police reform in decades. Let me ask you guys a question real quick. Do you all know what the executive order was that Joe Biden signed? Apparently, it's the most important legislation in a decade. Apparently, I had no idea because I didn't hear about it, but apparently it's the most important police legislation in decades. Apparently, has anybody heard about that? If you guys have heard about that, give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you guys have not heard about that, give me a thumbs down in the chat. I don't know what legislation he's talking about. What executive order did Joe Biden sign? Is anybody aware of an executive order that Joe Biden signed? Because I'm not. I haven't heard anything whatsoever. And again, this was before the Kyrie. I'm sorry. Why do I keep saying Kyrie? This was before the Tyree Nichols incident. This was around the time of, I guess, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. If it was so important, what has it done? That's the first question. One of the more notable promises in the order was, quote unquote, setting up a national law enforcement accountability database that would collect detailed information about officers who commit misconduct. The deadline to launch it was January 20th, the same day that 5 Memphis officers were fired for the beating death of Tyree Nichols, a killing that has once more ignited the national debate on policing. And the national debate shouldn't even be on policing. The national debate should be on anti-Black racism and the effects of anti-Black racism, because policing would fall under that. When it came to the Buffalo shooting, they tried to shift the narrative away from anti-Black racism to it was anti-Semitism and it's a gun rights issue. Now with this situation, we got to quickly move the situation away from it being anti-Black racism and police culture to it being, well, we need to do police reform. And if we can do it one or two ways. Let me ask you guys a question. Let's just entertain this. Let's just entertain this and say, you know what? It is police reform that needs to be done. If we submit and say it is police reform that needs to be done, then that means that the lack of police reform that has been had should be allowed to be attached to it, and the people that should have put the legislation in place should be liable for negligent homicide. So if you ask me, if you want me to consider this a police reform issue, if it is solely a police reform issue, then the Democrats as a whole, the Democrats as a organization have to be accomplices to negligent homicide, because they could have seen this happening miles away and did nothing to stop it. Do you guys agree with that? Or am I kind of out there on that one? If you guys agree, give me a thumbs up. If you guys disagree, give me a thumbs down. So now here, look, the deadline to launch this was supposed to be on January 20th. The Department of Justice has yet to announce the database and did not respond to multiple requests for comments on its status. But I bet you Ukraine got their money. Somebody call over to Ukraine and ask Zelensky if any of them checks been late yet. Any of them any of them Ukraine checks been late? I don't think those Ukraine checks have been late yet. But they was late on the due date for this. Let me ask you guys a question. This right here, is this going to earn anybody a vote? If you ask me, this is no vote worthy. So now here it says deadlines for other initiatives in Biden's order, like new standards for credentialing police departments, appear to have also come and gone without acknowledgement or public results. The administration had a very low bar to clear Biden's promise of significant police reform at a federal level, as congressional gridlock has stymied every legislative proposal in recent years. That's largely why a number of prominent civil rights groups hailed Biden's executive order as a positive first step, while also complaining that it didn't go far enough. Well, clearly it hasn't even gone through for all intents and purposes. Other groups like the Movement for Black Lives were more critical, arguing that the order represented minor reforms that tinker on the edges of a racist system. Udi Ofer worked closely with the White House on the order at the time as the director of the American Civil Liberties Union's Justice Division. Ofer has since left the ACLU and is a professor at Princeton University School of Public and Internal Affairs. He said the rollout of initiatives in Biden's order appear to lack urgency and level of commitment. So now let me ask you guys a question. If Biden's order lacked urgency and level of commitment, and that's what actually went through, could that be a contributing factor into why there was no deterrent for those cops to not harm Tyree Nichols? That's my question. That's my question. What do you guys think? Ofer said there are many people in the administration who care about advancing police reform, but it can't be a priority only on the anniversary of a police killing or when a new tragedy grabs headlines. And that's a lot of what we see. Anytime somebody gets killed by police or anytime somebody gets killed by police and it makes the headlines, a bunch of people make a lot of money, a bunch of politicians get a lot of recognition, and somehow it clears up the news to be able to take up space for a long amount of time and then make way for the next incident of police violence. But there's never a stop in that chain. And if you ask me, nothing that they're suggesting is anything that's breaking that chain or anything that even looks like it's going to break that chain. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, such is often the case with police reform efforts. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Act passed the House in 2021 after the historic protest that followed Floyd's killing. But the bill died in Senate and was largely forgotten in 2022 as national political attention shifted elsewhere. Many of the bill's provisions are similar to those in Biden's executive order, such as the misconduct database, but will carry the weight of federal law in a way that executive orders do not. A new president could undo Biden's order with the stroke of a pen. But the thing that's interesting is that Biden, he hasn't even done anything. He hasn't even done anything. So all of this is stuff that is supposed to be done. That's just not getting done. It just hasn't gotten done. The George Floyd Act would also do some things that the president cannot, like weakening qualified immunity. And how long have we been talking about qualified immunity? How long have we been talking about qualified immunity? The George Floyd Act would do some things that the president cannot, like weakening qualified immunity, a legal doctrine that gives police broad protection from civil lawsuits, and lowering the threshold for charging abusive officers with federal crimes. This week, in the aftermath of Nichols' death, some of the key lawmakers involved are talking about a new push at bipartisan regulations. The original proposal did not have a duty to intervene provision, requiring officers step in when others are behaving abusively. But some lawmakers are floating that as an addition now. Well, we just watched a situation where there was multiple cops. When it comes to the Tyree Nichols situation, out of all of those cops who were at the scene, which one do you think would have stepped in to stop that beating to save Tyree's life? Man, that's wild. Torian says, speaking of qualified immunity, I don't know if you heard, but that cop that killed Patrick Leoya last year wants to have his charges dropped due to so-called qualified immunity. They always do. They always do, bro. Shout out to my man KO Kid Fit. KO Kid Fit says Joe Biden got to be one of the worst presidents ever. Yeah, that's what the approval ratings say. The approval ratings literally say exactly this. They say you suck. You know what I'm saying? You suck. So now here it says at least 17 states have passed duty to intervene laws since 2020, including Illinois, Massachusetts, and Nebraska. Just a few hundreds of state-level police reform bills that passed in the same period. In Tennessee, home to Memphis, the legislature considered a duty to intervene law in 2020, but it did not pass. State lawmakers there are raising the possibility of a broad police reform package once again. So, but again, like these are just proposals, and then these proposals always end up dying. One thing that we, in my opinion, have to track and pay attention to is the pattern of how these things get introduced and when they let them or when they force them to fizzle out. Because if you constantly stay in a cycle of thinking that you're going to get something done that's never coming, you're missing out on other opportunities that are available to you to be able to attack your problem. If you constantly see the same thing happening, there could be an issue where people want you focused on something that you shouldn't really be focused on. You see what I'm saying? So now here it says it's actually been more than 2.5 years since Americans were promised a national police misconduct database. Then President Donald Trump also signed an executive order in June of 2020 that mandated a database of improper use of force. The effort stalled under Trump, and the Biden administration hated it as it contemplated its own version. So now here it says the database Biden ordered would require federal law enforcement agencies to submit misconduct data, and the federal government would use incentives and encouragement to get the state and local agencies to participate. And again, some of the states and local agencies, they just don't have to. At the state level, they have the option to not make that mandatory. But you guys see, they were able to get a lot of mandates for C-19 face coverings. Right now, here's my thing, King Gomez. I hear a lot of people say that, right? A lot of people say we probably need to police our own communities, right? And I understand where that will come from. Now, my question is, when it comes to policing, quote unquote, our own communities in the situation that we have here in the United States, how would the court system be integrated into that? Because ultimately, if we're just policing, the police are only one part of the criminal justice system. And the entire criminal justice system is messed up. And here's another question for you. How would you filter out the people like those 5 police officers who were involved with Tyree? Because one thing that the white media is doing, the white media is saying that that was black people policing their community, right? Which we all know isn't true because they weren't following any kind of community policing guidelines. They were following police guidelines from a kill squad that was created to terrorize that community by CJ Davis. So that's my question. That's just something to think about. What would a full, complete model of quote unquote policing our own look like, and how would it work? From arrest to sentencing. And I agree, it looked like some gang shit. And I gotta agree with KO Kid Fit. Those men got into policing just for power and money, not to better the neighborhoods. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, the Scorpion unit was in place prior to CJ. You're right. You're right, Nietzsche. I was thinking of that Red Dog unit in Atlanta. So now here it says, but such databases have a limitation for curbing abuse. While several officers indicted in Nichols' death had a history of minor disciplinary infractions, none had been involved in any kind of incidents that would have landed them on a proposed national database. So they still might have slipped through the cracks, is what this is saying. Shout out to Tone. What up with it, bro? They still may have slipped through the cracks. You know what I'm saying? These kinds of databases are mostly aimed at preventing wandering officers who are accused of serious misconduct in one department from winding up in another department. Even though the problems with policing in the US run far deeper than what a database like this can capture, it can still be a part of chipping away at the culture of policing, said Damon Hewitt, president and executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law. I think it's worthwhile, so long as it's not viewed as an end-all be-all. His organization was also involved in helping the White House develop the order, and he hopes that the increased attention will prod the administration to hasten implementation. Do you guys think that this will work? Do you guys think that this will stimulate them to get them to actually get on this and get something done? I just want you guys to put this into perspective. They codified abortion and gay marriage before they were able to codify any kind of police effort to deter the police from killing unarmed black people. Just let that marinate for a minute. They codified and agreed on gay marriage. They codified and agreed on abortion. Just can't figure out if we should punish police officers for killing unarmed black people. That's concerning. That shows you the direction that the country is in. And what it shows you is that the country has been the same since 1776, which is nothing that's of any benefit to us. As a matter of fact, that's something that's harmful to us. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says the misconduct database is not the first federal effort in tracking police violence to be rolled out slowly or incompletely. So it's not really a federal effort then. If the federal government's not making an effort, then it's not a federal effort. Right? I mean, they didn't do this. They failed. So it's not an effort because you didn't make an effort. It's not even an attempt. It's not even an at bat. So what are we talking about here? You know what I mean? So now here it says in 2015, then FBI Director James Comey called it embarrassing and ridiculous that the federal government kept worse data on police killings than efforts by The Guardian and Washington Post. The same year, the FBI announced an effort to collect use of force data, but it didn't actually begin it until 2019. So now remember, let me ask you guys this. Let's bring it back. You guys remember in the last stream when I said, well, Joe Biden is showing exactly what the priorities are. As you're reading this, are you starting to understand where this falls at in the priority list? Let's just put it out there. Let's just get it in the chat for people that watch on the replay. So if they watch the live chat, they can take a crack at this. What do you guys think as far as where this falls on the priority list? And if it doesn't fall on the priority list very high, why doesn't it? Is the question. What up with it, Sophia? Why doesn't it fall very high? If you guys agree with Catsy, give me a thumbs up. Yes, it's way down the list. Like not even on the list. Yeah, I agree. And it's evident. And it's evident the way that this keeps falling through, and then they try to bring it back up as soon as something happens, and then they let it die down again, and then they try to bring it up, and then they bring it back down. But I'll tell you what, that's a perfect mechanism, right? Think about this. It's a perfect mechanism to keep somebody always voting for a political party that never has any plans on actually doing anything for you, because this is a reoccurrent thing that the Democrats can use and say, well, we can always reel them back in with this, so we'll just keep this in our back pocket. You see what I'm saying? So now here it says in 2015, then FBI Director James Comey. Oh, we already read that. So now here it says the program is voluntary and only 66% of agencies nationwide participated last year, limiting how much of the data the FBI can release by law. Okay. So even now, lists kept by the Washington Post and the activist group Mapping Police Violence and by volunteers at Fatal Encounter are much more comprehensive than what the government reports. So my question is, if the government is bad at doing that, why doesn't it just outsource somebody who's good at doing it? Does that make any sense? Let me ask you guys a question. Have you guys ever heard of a Chicago police chief named John Burge? Jonburge. And he's a person from Chicago. You guys ever heard of this person? Hold on real quick. You see this right here? It says Chicago Police Commander John Burge and his crew tortured false confessions out of hundreds of black men. Decades later, the survivors fought for reparations. This article here is an old article. It was filed at 6 a.m. on 10/30 of 2018. So now here it says, whereas the city council wishes to acknowledge this exceedingly sad and painful chapter in Chicago's history and to add formally express its profound regret for any and all shameful treatment of our fellow citizens that occurred. And so now here it says the nightmare starts in 1983. Daryl Cannon is driving a car down an expressway looking for a place to dump a body. Since his elementary school days, he's been affiliated with a gang known as the Blackstone Rangers. By his mid-teens, he was a high school dropout working for a Blackstone leader named Jeff Fort, which is how he came to kill a man and go to prison for the first time. Now he's out and back in the mix, and a few hours ago, another gang member named AD killed someone and asked him for help to help him clean up the scene of the crime. They find a spot, toss out the body, and speed away as fast as they can. A few days later, police arrest Cannon for the murder. He tells them he was just along for the ride, but they aren't in the mood to listen. They drive to a remote spot by a railroad track, stand him up in the road with his hands handcuffed behind him. One of the officers holds out a 10-inch cattle prod and another holds a pump-action shotgun. In an affidavit for one of the appeals he will file years later, he'll remember the warning of one of the officers gave him. You're in for a long, hard day. We have a scientific way of interrogating niggers. So that's what they said. Isn't that interesting? So now here it says, on a spring morning, more than 30 years later, Cannon wakes up and tests the weight of the day, waiting for the flood of emotion. Ever since a team of sadistic Chicago police officers shoved a shotgun into his mouth and tortured him into a series of false confessions, he's been dreaming of this moment. He dreamed about it all through the 21 years he spent in prison and his exoneration and release the years that followed. Freedom was partial justice, but it was still a very long way from real justice. He isn't sure if he'll ever see real justice. Yeah, you guys want the link to this story? Hopefully it'll have enough characters. Let me see. Let me know if it came through in the chat. Did all the characters come through? So now here it says, but he sure as hell isn't going to miss a chance to see it. He takes a shower, puts on a white checkered shirt, a tie, a black sweater vest that adds another touch of formality. He's too agitated to eat breakfast. He's in a hurry to get downtown to see history made one way or another. Today's reckoning began with an art project of all things. Cannon had almost given up. Years had gone by. The evidence was out there. 118, look at this, 118 Black victims of the Chicago Police Department's team of torturers had been documented, some of whom were guilty of criminal acts and many whom were exonerated and released. Members of the CPD used electrical shocks, beatings, suffocated people with plastic bags, and burned them with cigarette lighters, but faced no consequences from the state for their behavior. Police supervisors looked the other way. The state's attorney refused to investigate and used the dirty confessions to get convictions, and the city fought off claims for damages in courts. Now, when people talk about a system, if this isn't the example of a system, I don't know what is. Would you guys agree that this right here is evidence of a system at play? Now, you know, one thing that people like to say all the time is, well, how does this affect anybody that's alive today? Well, this guy right here is still alive today. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how it affects people that are alive today. Notice how it's never, when we come with a problem, it's never, well, what can we do to sit down and actually fix this problem that we have? That is never what is the response to any of that. The response is always to downplay something. Well, how does that matter now? Why do we have to deal with it now? My problems are more important than yours. Facts. I agree, RG Titan. This BS system is doing exactly what it's intended to do. And that's one of the reasons why the world is correct. Because as long as we allow this system to persist, for us to expect different results from what it was made for is not a very intuitive expectation. Shout out to my man Terrence Jackson. What's good with it, bro? I agree 110%. Terrence says, if it wasn't dealt with back then, It's probably still happening now. Facts. And as we can see, it is happening now. I mean, they did it to the extent to where somebody died, but that's actually, I mean, that's what was done to Tyree Nichols. You know what I'm saying? That's what was done to George Floyd. That's what's done to all these people that end up dead. People that get beat to death in jail by the police. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says community activists and the lawyers for the victims kept pushing. Amnesty International joined the fight, calling for an official investigation into the torture ring. In 1993, a decade after the torture was first exposed, the CPD finally fired their leader of the ring, Commander John Burge. People were still fighting for justice 2 decades later when a group of young Chicago activists called We Charge Genocide flew to Geneva and gave a presentation to the United Nations Committee Against Torture, and the UN responded with a report accusing the United States of violating international bans on torture and a startling low international relations. Finally, in June of 2010, a federal court convicted Burge on criminal charges, not for torture, but for lying under oath when he denied torturing people in a civil trial brought by one of his victims. So what does that say right there? That's him right there. What does that say about all this? Now, remember, we're going state by state. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've only talked about Chicago. We talked about Tennessee, right? We've talked about Pennsylvania, and now we're talking about Illinois, Chicago. Can you imagine all of the stories in each of the 50 states? Imagine that. So now here it says, but that still didn't feel like real justice, not to Cannon or the other torture victims who prefer to be called survivors. Most of them weren't even offered therapy. Most of them were ignored, even as the world responded with horror to the American torture of detainees in Iraq. And don't we see that all the time? Just the devaluation of our life. Oh my God, it's just so bad what's going on over there, but what you have going on over here doesn't matter, and you people need to just stop complaining about everything. I gotta agree with Katsy. The system not only it kind of protects its own, but it also harms its own too. I honestly don't think that the system protects its own. I think the system only gives its own privilege. That's it. I don't think the system really protects its own all like that, because there wouldn't be all those cases of familicide and all that crazy stuff that goes on in the suburbs if they were actually prosecuting people and policing and surveilling like they're supposed to. But that's just what I think, though. What do you guys think? So now here it says in 2012, when a group of activists and artists organized a speculative memorial to support them at the Art Institute of Chicago, a work of imagination by human rights attorney named Joey Mogul caught their attention in an unexpected way. In the spirit of the 18th century satirist Jonathan Swift, Mogul had created a mock-up of an official city ordinance mandating reparations to the torture victims. It was intended as a work of art. In the context of American history, the idea is explosive. The U.S. government has long resisted attempts to coax loose or even an apology for slavery, much less give serious thought to reparations. So now, what does that say right there? That's interesting that they brought that up. What does that say? Shout out to Val Williams. What's up with it, Val? Black members of the U.S. Congress have been introducing a bill repeatedly since 1989 calling for just a study of reparations. So they must be talking about H.R. 40, damages for America's founding sins, without even getting close to a vote, most Americans consider reparations nothing but a pet project of angry black nationalists, which is insane because it literally just deletes an entire real part of the history of this country. Now, here's my question. Again, like, I want you guys to understand this. This is the mentality that we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that can literally, as you can see, we'll just detach ourselves from reality and we'll say that you're just an angry black nationalist. Shout out to my man AB Promotions. What's good with it, bro? So now here it says, after the show, Mogul and other activists had an epiphany. Why not? They began researching the fight for reparations from regimes in Argentina and Kenya and Chile for the Japanese Americans who were put in camps during World War II, for the women from North Carolina who were sterilized, and for the survivors of the white riot that wiped out Rosewood, Florida. They met with a UN special rapporteur on torture who told Mogul that the reparations Chile had paid victims of Augusto Pinochet's brutal dictatorship included free healthcare and education. So you got to pay attention, because it seems like what they're about to do is they're about to try to steer this down some non-cash avenue, but we'll see. Yeah, I agree, Lloyd. The racial wealth gap and white supremacy also go hand in hand as well, because as long as the racial wealth gap is wide and expanding, then that's an indicator that they can look at and say that they don't need to put any stress on the system because it's working in the appropriate way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would tell them everything they need to know. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says Mogul added another clause to her reparations ordinance, giving the torture victims free tuition to city colleges. In Chicago, public opinion was outright hostile on the topic of reparations for a former group of convicts, including some who were career criminals. Cannon, for example, was on parole after serving 12 years for murder when he was arrested. Over the next 2 years, the movement grew through Sunday afternoon meetings, petitions, marches, a Twitter campaign to pressure Mayor Rahm Emanuel. And look at that, Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Makeshift memorials, sing-ins, teach-ins, public train takeovers, and church talks. A pair of city council members named Howard Bookins and Joe Moreno sponsored Mogul's reparations ordinance. A well-known criminal justice reformer named Miriam Kaba, who joined Mogul's advisory board, told me I could consider the reparations ordinance to be an abolitionist document. It's an expansive way of demanding a form of justice, and it had specific requests and demands that were non-carcal demands that tend to the needs of survivors. Now, how many of you guys knew about this? Shout out to Tarek. What up with it, bro? How many of you guys knew about this? If you guys knew about this, give me a thumbs up. If you guys didn't know about this, give me a thumbs down. This right here is pretty interesting, because I've never heard about this. And what it actually seems like, they kind of actually got an outside agency to force the United States to do some things different. So if this is correct and this is successful, what this shows is that the United States has to be made to do things. The United States is not interested in doing anything moral or ethical. What the United States is interested in is trying to tell you to behave moral or ethical, so that when you actually get your justice, it's not too much of an inconvenience or a destructive force to the United States. That's what that indicates to me. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, at one rally, a survivor named Mark Clements, who spent 28 years in prison for a confession tortured out of him by birds, spoke to the crowd. I'm asking for the entire city council to have a heart. I was 16 years old. I can never express this enough. 16 years old, handcuffed to a ring around the wall, and having my genitals grabbed and squeezed and called nigger boy. Chicago cops, Chicago cop culture. Grabbing somebody's nutsack and calling them the N-word. The fuck is wrong with these people? You know what I'm saying? I'm sure that part got left out of the police report. So now here it says today, May 6th of 2015, the city is finally going to bring the matter up for a vote. So it took that long to get it. It took that long to get it to a vote. You know what I'm saying? If a council member decides for the massive class of police torture victims, it will be the first time in history that the United States that African Americans who suffered from organized government violence win the right to reparations. As Cannon heads up the steps, he straightens his tie. Let's see if this will play real quick. Hold on.
My name is Daryl Cannon, and I'm a survivor of having been tortured. In my case, I was tortured by the New Wave Clan. The New Wave Clan wore badges instead of sheets. On November the 2nd, 1983 was a day that will live with me as long as I have breath in my body. Because on that particular day there, I found out that you can, in fact, terrorize a man. You can terrorize a man by taking him to an isolated area on the south side of Chicago, around Torrance, way out there, drive through a pipe, come out on the other side, which is an isolated area, taken out the car in handcuffs by 3 white detectives. During that day, at that site there, they played a game called Russian roulette on me. And the way that they played it, they didn't play it with a revolver, they played it with a shotgun. They took a shotgun while my hands was cuffed behind my back. And while I was standing out there, one of the detectives told me, and I quote, "Nigga, look around. Nobody's going to see or hear anything we do to you today. You can scream all you want, but nigga, before you leave here, you're going to tell us exactly what we want to hear." One of the other detectives said, "Go ahead, blow that nigga's head off." And he tried to force the shotgun barrel in my mouth. I wouldn't voluntarily allow him to do that. So he ended up chipping my 2 front teeth and splitting my lip and forcing the barrel of that shotgun in my mouth. And the other detective said, "Now, nigga, you're going to tell us what we want to hear." And again, I tried to tell them that I had nothing to say to them whatsoever. And that's when Peter Dignett pulled the trigger. I heard the click. They did this 3 separate times. The third time that I heard that click, the hair on the back of my head stood straight up because I honestly thought he had blew my brains out. When that didn't work, they tried to hang me by my handcuffs, which was cuffed behind my back. He took electric caliper and he turned it on. And he stuck me on my genitals with that caliper. I had never in my life experienced that kind of pain then or since then. And I'm here to tell you that I looked at their faces. I didn't keep my eyes closed. I looked at their faces. And believe me, they enjoyed what they were doing. It wasn't a job, it was just fun and games. Now, I cried not because I hurt, I cried because I'm mad. I'm still mad today because of what happened to me. And I'll stay mad. Can't no one tell me to forgive, forget, or anything else because you do not expect for people that have a badge to treat you in that manner. So, on behalf of myself,
See, that's the problem right there. And again, no disrespect to this survivor here, but that, in my opinion, is where a lot of times we mess up. The reality is that you have to understand that every police officer can and will do this. What does the evidence say about what police officers do? This right here was recorded. It says in 2015. It's 2022 now, or 2023. It's 2023. And we're still dealing with this. And people are still living in denial. And do you know that there's some people out there? There's some poor lost souls out there. There are some poor lost souls that still think the police are there to keep you safe. Can you believe that? That some people actually still believe such insanity? They still believe such insanity. How many stories have to come out? You know what I'm saying? How many stories have to come out? Poker Villain says police are there to protect the state, not the people. They are not there to serve and protect citizens. I agree. I think that's been proven in a Supreme Court case. But they're also not there to harass and terrorize citizens either. So, okay, your duty is not to protect. Your duty is also not to harass and terrorize. But for some reason, they find time to do that. So now we have to ask, why is it a priority for them to do that? Does that make any sense? Why is that one of their priorities? You know what I mean?
Anthony, those who are still in prison, I thank you. We thank you. And please never allow injustice of this nature to go this long unchecked. Thank you.
So now he said the scientific method, or I'm sorry, now it says the scientific method of interrogation came courtesy of Burge, a former military police investigator in Vietnam. Born just after World War II, he grew up in a white enclave on Chicago's South Side called South Deering, where his father worked for the phone company and his mother wrote a fashion column for the local newspaper. He was 5 when a black family moved into the neighborhood, and his neighbors responded with rocks and racial slurs. I want you guys to pay very close attention. There was a couple things that happened there. For one, black people decided to move into that relationship. Or I'm sorry, the black people decided to move into that neighborhood. I don't understand that thought process. And honestly, like, I think it's people that there's a lot of, you can group a lot of issues that people have together. But shout out to my man Kareem. But there's a pattern of things that people do, and then they're shocked by the results, when if you look at the actions that they did, they would logically lead to those results happening. These are the same kind of people that habitually vote Democrat and have no idea why they're doing it. Why would people think about this? You have to ask. Okay, now again, like I said, I look at individual interpersonal relationships slightly different than how I look at group dynamics, right? That's just me. Not saying that everybody has to do that, but I do. But moving to a community, you're going to deal with a group dynamic, right? Like you're not going into business where you're working with a particular individual. You're not doing something on an individual relation, right? You're not doing something on an individual basis where it's only the interaction of you two. This is a group dynamic. You're moving into a neighborhood. What would have made them want to move to that neighborhood? Think about that. This is during a time like what year did it say this was? This was 1960. In 1960, knowing the history that we have in this country, knowing the relationship with other people in this country, who in their right mind would move their family into the middle of a shark tank infested with sharks? And here's the thing, right? I'm saying who would do that as if it's a rare occurrence, but it's not a rare occurrence. So my question is, why do people do this? And then they're surprised. What was the point of this? Does anybody have the answers? Carlton Way says probably to get away from other black people. I bet you there could have possibly been a little bit of that in there. Now, did it work out real well? I don't think it worked out real well. I don't think black people was over there stoning them and doing all kind of other stuff to them. But there was some driving force that said, I need to get where I'm surrounded by these people that hate me are. What kind of sense does that make? Yeah, I agree, Lloyd Sky9. The liberal media has had a grasp on Negroes in the 50s and 60s as well. So Kareem brings up a good point. He says, sometimes, Rob, I believe people move to areas like that because of prices and types of land available. And a lot of it's not going to happen to me. Okay, well, I get, so you're talking about like a rural area, possibly, right? Like an area where somebody could get like some farmland or something like that. Now that makes sense, and I wouldn't judge that so harshly because you can only get, that kind of facility like in a rural area. You can't go to the city and get that kind of stuff. So that would make sense. And like I get that, Kareem. I actually agree with that. What I'm more focused on is like the metropolitan area. Shout out to Black TS, brother. What's up with it? Good to see you. I'm talking about more like a metropolitan area. Like, say, for instance, you live in an inner city, and then you say, I'm going to move to this suburb. I'm not moving to a rural area. I'm not talking about moving out to the boondocks where I can, work the land and stuff like that. I'm talking about moving to just another city. And this city is where I'm surrounded by people who are hostile. Why would you do it? King Goma says whitewashed, brainwashed. Yeah, I mean, I call that white supremacist brain damage. Self-hate is white supremacist brain damage. Again, like this isn't saying that you can't have any interaction, right? This is not saying that you can't deal with people on an interpersonal basis. It's easier to control things on an interpersonal basis than it is on group basis, right? And Gullah Jacks has a point too. I think they were expecting their money or class to protect him. Do you think that let me ask you this, all right? Do you think that there's a sector or a age range or a demographic within Black people that sees not being around other Black people as a status increase? Because if you listen to how some of the older people talk, like a lot of older people talk down on things when there's a lot of Black people around, and they'll say, I want to move over here because, this is the white side of town and it's nice. Have you ever heard people talk like that? Every time I hear somebody say stuff like that, it's so bizarre to me. I'm taken back like crazy. I'm taken back like crazy. It's just like, yo. So again, like I said, this isn't no knock on anybody else, right? But I'm just sitting here listening and I'm like, so your idea of something automatically having better quality is either it being done or produced by white people or being the least amount of Black people. Why do you look at it like that? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy. I'm better off where somebody can lynch and tar and feather me than I am where I can be safe. What the hell? Who makes that decision? That shit is crazy. Here's my question for you guys. I think that there's a lot of people who are like that now. Look at all the people on YouTube. Look at all these clowns. Look at all these people like Black Conservative Perspective, Officer Tatum. Look at these idiots. You know what's so crazy? They're so stupid. They don't even know that the people that they're trying to pander to are just literally belly laughing profusely at them. And they really think they're doing something good. They think they're out here changing the world. Jason Whitlock. He is an idiot. He is a complete waste of flesh and bones. And if he thinks the people respect him, let me ask you this. Where has anybody ever been respected for disloyalty? Is disloyalty something that's celebrated? If disloyalty is something that's celebrated, give me a thumbs up. If it's not celebrated, give me a thumbs down. Okay. Now, here's my thing, right? Everybody may have a different definition of loyalty. I'm not here to argue with people of what you think loyalty is. We all know what loyalty is. Our perceptions of loyalty can vary from person to person. And my thing is everybody's different. So everybody's entitled to their own opinion, right? But regardless, if you don't display any degree of loyalty, at some point you got to realize that somebody's just using you. Like Jason Whitlock is just getting used. And he loves it. He'd rather be used than have a purpose of his own. Man, that's crazy that people make that decision every day. That's literally the only basis that they look at. This is a white area. It's better. Look at this, man. Think about this opposite effect, right? If you move to two areas that are exactly equivalent, right? Same size houses. same land value, same size houses, same size of land. Just because a bunch of white people are there, it costs more. These motherfuckers costed more to get stoned. They paid more money to get rocks thrown at them and shit. People put a lot of like belief into the perception of money, right? So if you go move to some trashy ass area where there's just it's all white, even if it's a bad area, it still costs more than living in the hood. But what are you paying for? What are you paying for? If there's a house that's 4 bedrooms and it got 2 bathrooms in it, and you got like a 500 acre plot that it's on, and both are in a metropolitan area, why are you paying $20,000 a year more for this particular house? The only reason why that can possibly make sense is the population matrix of the neighborhood. And so you're actually getting charged in price manipulation or in popularity or in whatever to be around certain people. Get the hell out of here. For one, I would never contribute to that kind of value. I'm not contributing to that kind of value. I don't want to move to one of those kind of areas. I don't place the value. I don't see any value in being around certain people just because they're not black. That's crazy to me. But it's crazy how common it is that people move like that, though. Like, that shit is just wild to me, man. And it's crazy how it'll just roll off somebody's tongue. Somebody would just say it like they just said some profound shit. Well, I'm going over here to this store because it's not, you know what I'm saying? I'm going over here to this store because this is on the white side of town. Like, what? That's the only reason you go into that store? So you finna drive 45 minutes away to have a deadly encounter with a policeman or an inconvenient encounter with a Karen just to be on the white side and pay more money for your food? Like, that's crazy. Shout out to DSB. What up with it, bro? And so, like, my thing is, like, one thing that we got to do is, like, we got to change that mind state. It's okay to have friends. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to interact with people and shit. I'm not the person that's going to sit here and say not to interact with motherfuckers. We live in a diverse country. And the reality of it is that people are going to interact. But within your interaction, have respect for yourself. You know what I'm saying? Have respect for where you come from. If you ask me, this is my personal opinion. There's nothing wrong with taking where you're from with you wherever you go. But move the right way and actually take that shit with you. Don't devalue yourself and overvalue other people. That's insanity. And that's the way people been moving for God knows how long. Look at this shit. Let a motherfucker earn something. If you ask me, okay, well, there's a white business that you're using. Did you go use that business just because white people owned it? No. I didn't use the business just because white people owned it. I shopped around. I looked at the quality. I looked at the pricing. I looked at the delivery. And out of all the businesses that I looked at, this one is the one that suited my needs the most. I didn't just go to this business because it had a white owner. I didn't go to this business because it had white employees. I went because this shit suited my needs. Like, people, when it comes to like back in the day, like when it came to migration patterns and stuff like that, people ain't even look at it like that. Motherfuckers was just like, okay, I got to move where the white people going. And like, this is during these times, like in the 1960s, there was a lot of white flight going around. Like white people were living in the cities and then moving out into the suburbs. So now you're in the cities and white people are moving into the suburbs, and now you're chasing their ass to the suburbs. What are you doing? You clearly moving to where people are that don't want to be around you. And then as soon as a bunch of you accumulate, then you trying to find where these people moved again. Screw that. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't. Where did that come from? Where did that kind of mentality come from? Yeah, I agree, DJ Elmo. And my thing, that's the thing that I've said this before, like we talked, like DJ Elmo been around for a minute. We went deep into this kind of conversation a long time ago. But like, it actually is the racist ones. Like, motherfuckers be trying the hardest to identify with the actual racist ones. You ain't even trying to like identify with somebody that's halfway decent, or somebody that's cool, or somebody that's tolerable, or somebody that is at least on some real shit. These motherfuckers want to identify with some racist shit. And like, I like motherfuckers like Officer Tatum, people like Candace Owens, people like Black Conservative Perspective. Those is the kind of people that come to mind. Those motherfuckers literally have copied racist white people's personalities and adopted them. You didn't just adopt some white person's personality who happened to be a decent white person. You have adopted racist white person ideology. What the hell is wrong with your brain? That's the shit that boggles my mind. You don't really ever see no in-between coons. Think about this. I want y'all to really think about these brainwave patterns. Do you ever see like a half coon? And when I say like, do you ever see, like, you either see somebody that's real and they might have a couple little attributes that you don't like, or you see somebody that's not real. Even somebody that you might have a beef with, like, I don't like this motherfucker, but this motherfucker not a coon though. There's no coons who are halfway cooning. You know how Mobb Deep said, ain't no such thing as a halfway thug. Ain't no such thing as a halfway coon. Seriously. Sometimes, you deal with some motherfuckers like, okay, I like R&B a little bit. I like rap. Okay, I like that. Then you got some of them cats, what I'm saying? Some of them out there, they like the skateboarding. And, some motherfuckers like, rock and roll and metal music. And, what I'm saying? Like I said, some people like certain things and shit. It's never like that with a coon. When it comes to coons, them motherfuckers are Clayton Bigsby. No questions asked. Nothing. No, there's no spectrum on cooning. It's just you all the way a damn coon. The personality is the same. The talking points is the same. The profile is the same. The complaints with the world is the same. There is no diversity in cooning. It is the most non-unique personality type ever. Yeah, they go full Clayton Bigsby. Look at you don't think they go Clayton Bigsby? You don't think that? Look at this. Check this out, Director Kudo. Herschel Walker and Larry Elder are such pathetic, self-hating motherfuckers that, like Clayton Bigsby, they even turned on the white women that they were with, and probably because they were with black men. Them motherfuckers hate themselves that bad. Something must be wrong with your ass if you likes me, because I'm black and nobody's supposed to like me. So then you start getting this shit where these motherfuckers is beating the shit out the women that they with. And you ain't even with a black woman. You're with a white woman, and you're looking at her like that. That is exactly what Clayton Bigsby did in that Dave Chappelle skit. When he took off his hood and realized that he was a black dude, he divorced his wife, who had been with him the whole time and knew he was black. Now you up here making decisions for other motherfuckers based on how bad you hate yourself. That shit is crazy. like I just gotta take a moment to like talk about this shit. Mike said even so-called black liberals try to fit in with these racists and supremacists. Don Lemon, Mark Lamont Hill, Jamel Hill, yeah, Sage Steele, facts. Michael Eric Dyson. You know what I'm saying? Yo, everybody drop some radiation emoji for King Goma. Yo, you should check out my other channels. I got more subscribers on my other channel. And that shit is crazy though, right? So like, think about this shit. The problem with that shit is that we're sitting here laughing about it, but we could go look at a motherfucking Officer Tatum video right now, and this motherfucker's doing everything that I said. That's the problem. It's funny, but it's not funny while this nigga's making videos saying this insanity to 2 million people. And you got 2 million people gaslighting him saying you're a genius because you're an idiot just like me. Because you see, I'm an idiot. You know what I mean? I am an idiot that hates people based on the color of their skin. That is how stupid I am. I can't even make my own decisions. My brain is so damn small, along with other things, that I can't even make a decision on how to assess somebody and figure out if this person is good or bad. I'm so remedial, I have to use an animalistic instinct of racism in order to assess other human beings. You know what I'm saying? Val, I think it's called the Pritzker family business. Terrence Jackson said, I'm stealing your halfway coon line. King Goma says, chat, what do you think about Thomas Sowell? Ain't no such, he's not a halfway coon, I'll tell you that. he's not a halfway coon. You know what I'm saying? He definitely ain't a halfway. Ain't no hybrid cooning out here. All coons are all full-blooded. You know what I'm saying? Like there's there's nobody that's a part-time real motherfucker and a part-time coon. They wake up and go to sleep the exact same way. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And like, you know, the standards, you know, people be in their feelings and shit, and like the standards of things, you know, with YouTube and social media, people have, you know what I'm saying? I don't think people have I have very lenient expectations on what I would consider a coon or not. Most people are probably a lot more strict with what they would call a coon versus what they wouldn't. And the reason why I don't look at it that way is because I feel that everybody deserves a slight amount of leniency because of the situations that we have come up in. So like, I understand. I try to sympathize with everybody, and I don't go looking for reasons to call somebody a coon. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people do that shit. Like, oh, you know, this nigga a coon. You know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not looking for a reason. If I'm saying some shit about somebody, I'm saying it because I've observed this pattern of behavior over time. Like the people that watch my other channel that watch Black Light Revelations, right? It's a lot of people that rock with Kanye West, and I get it. And when I did a content about Kanye West, I try to not be disrespectful to those subscribers of mine that rock with Kanye. I don't like Kanye, and I don't like Kanye because of certain patterns that he got, certain ways about him. A lot of that stuff that I said that I thought might happen, it happened because of the way that he is. Same thing with a lot of other people, a lot of other, you know what I'm saying, questionable people. And then there's some people who seem questionable, but they never go beyond that threshold. They just stay questionable. Like, I'm waiting for your ass to fuck up, and they just never do. But the reason why you would be waiting is because you notice an attribute that you've seen in somebody else that's constantly violating. You can always know what Officer Tatum is going to say. Anything that goes with a narrative that would be common with Black people, even if it's the right one. A lot of times, sometimes people can take a stance that's kind of controversial. And then sometimes things are cut and dry, black and white, right? Like when it came to Tyree Nichols, that's black and white. Those cops was dead ass wrong. Those cops are pieces of shit. There's no justifying anything that they did at all. It's barely justifiable that their mother didn't abort them. You know what I'm saying? But Officer Tatum found a way to make that shit Tyree Nichols' fault. You shouldn't have been resisting. Why do you think they charged him with kidnapping? Because they illegally detained his ass. And when you illegally detain somebody, that's called kidnapping. Shout out to my man, Black Bitcoin Key. What's good, bro? But these people like Tatum, people like a lot of Black conservatives have adopted this culture of white anti-Black racism to the extent that their normal thought process has become converted into the same thought process as a Karen or a male Karen. I bet you Officer Tatum would go somewhere and it'd be a whole bunch of Black people around. He'd be like, "Oh, I can't stand being around these N-words." Bruh, you know you the only person looking at yourself like you ain't one of us. Do you understand that? You know what I'm saying? Do you understand that you're the only person that's looking at your kid like your kid isn't one of us? But you keep on living in that delusional world. Y'all remember that story about that dude named Jonathan Price in Texas? The police shot him. He was unarmed. You know what I'm saying? While he was having a seizure. He was one of those Blue Line Matter people. He was a Black dude. And he used to go in on Black people on social media. And he supported the Blue Line and ended up getting taken out by the Blue Line. That kind of stuff never fails. Terrence got a great point. Terrence says, it's funny how fearing for your safety justifies police action, but when Tyree feared for his, it's his fault that it happened. Yeah, it's not the police officer's fault that them being scared, they acted in an irresponsible way and murdered somebody. But it's Tyree's fault that he was scared for his damn life too, because some people just jumped out of a bunch of unmarked cars in plain clothes and motherfuckers was grabbing them all up and shit like that. You know, you're just supposed to sit there and let somebody do that to you because this is America and this is what Black people are supposed to do, is just let everybody just yoke us up. Nah, nobody's on that anymore, ever. Nobody should have ever been on that in the first place, but people definitely ain't on that now. That's definitely not popping anymore. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, though, this is why you got to go back and re-examine this kind of situation here. when he was 5, a black family moved into the neighborhood and his neighbors responded with rocks and racial slurs. We already know that this is how these people get down. So if you didn't move into that neighborhood with a shotgun, willing to shoot it when people were throwing those rocks at you, if you weren't willing to retaliate, you have to first ask yourself why you moved there. Don't do no shit like that and then be like, oh, these motherfuckers are racist. That's why they all live together. The reason why the neighborhood was a all-white neighborhood is because it was an all-white neighborhood. You're a bunch of tribal motherfuckers. You see, I'm sure it's poor white people that live in the hood. I know it's poor white people that live in my hood. Motherfucker, if you wanted to be by a white person, go move next door to one of them poor white people that live in the hood. Nah, you wanted a whole neighborhood. You wanted to be so what that says is that it's not even really it's only partially a matter of wanting to be around white people. These type of motherfuckers want to get away from other black people. Because there's white people in the hood. If it's like that, go move next door. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like that. You want to get away from everybody else. And then when you get away from everybody else and some shit happen, you come back to everybody else talking about these motherfuckers racist. No shit. You didn't see the neighborhood before you moved in. The racist shit about the neighborhood is the shit that attracted you to the motherfucking neighborhood. So why the hell you sitting there telling me, oh, I'm about to move to this all-white neighborhood where these houses cost about $300,000-$400,000? Wait a minute, hold on, slow that down. You're moving to an all-white neighborhood. That must mean that they are keeping other people out actively. But you gonna move your ass in there. Okay, good luck. Man, I came outside. My car was sitting on flats. My windows was all busted. And somebody wrote the N-word on my car. You didn't expect that? They didn't tell you about that with the homeowners association meeting? How do you think they kept the place all white? They kept the place all white by keeping people who aren't white out. And your ass made it in. So they're going to keep pushing with you and keep messing with you until they get you out. How did you not think about that? But these kind of people don't think about that, though. Instead of going to the store right up the street, I'm going to go to this store all the way across town. Oh, man, this Karen sitting up here acting crazy. She done called the police on me and said that I stole something. That shit wouldn't have happened if you had to went up the street. Fuck. You know what I'm saying? You went to Karenville and then got mad because you had an encounter with a Karen. At some point, you gotta ask about the behavior pattern. Like, people ain't learning from this kind of stuff yet. Exactly, Mike. How do you fear for your life while they're equipped with military grade weapons, combat boots, and riot gear? Also, bulletproof vests. Oh yeah, absolutely, Ghost Walker. If you go through if you live in a city in Ohio, you virtually if you're not doing something absolutely crazy in the street, you ain't never gonna deal with the police. Now, the moment you go to the suburbs, you're getting pulled over instantly. But if you live in Cleveland, if you live in Akron, if you live in Youngstown, you live in Warren, man, them police ain't thinking about your ass unless something come up when they run your license plate. And even depending on what comes up when they run your license plate, they don't give a shit about it. Depends on what it is. If they can follow you back to a trap house or something, yeah, they gonna look at you. You know what I'm saying? You got some little dumb shit on your license. They don't care about that shit. They're not pulling nobody over. Right. You didn't see the Confederate flag. You didn't see that burning cross style tiki torch at welcome. You didn't see the little fine print where it said, yeah, this neighborhood is a sundown neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't see that, huh? Better get your eyes checked. You know what I'm saying? Like, and my question is, why would you have a desire to live in a situation where you know people are going to be like that? See, that again, that's the thing. If you are in the if it was an issue of, oh, I just want to be next to a particular white person, okay, you could move next door to your favorite neighbor in the hood that happens to be a poor white person, right? And problem solved. You're not going to have to worry about that person throwing rocks at you because you've lived in the same neighborhood with that person for God knows how long, and that person has established a little bit of a rapport with you. It's not going down like that. They all right. But you want to move to some foreign area with some new motherfuckers that you have no idea who they are, that are not like even the people like them in your neighborhood, and then wonder why some shit happened. And you won't hear about that because people don't get down like that, which is again, I don't encourage that kind of shit, but it's just some shit to think about. It's some shit to think about. They can be comfortable broke with you in the hood and be good. Ain't nobody about to run them out. Ain't nobody about to do none of that. Because we just don't get down like that. You move in an affluent, but at the same time, no, them being in that area, you know what I'm saying? Like, like they're not, they're able to just chill there. And like there's no consequence, no backlash, no repercussion, like none of that. You see what I'm saying? And most people ain't really trying to do all that. Like, ain't nobody really trying. I mean, it's almost like, who's doing that and why? Especially if a motherfucker not bothering anybody. Now, if you a racist motherfucker, that's a different story. Fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we finna knock down your Confederate flag every time we walk past. But if you somebody that's just minding your business, ain't nobody gonna fuck with you. Nobody give a fuck. That's one thing I cannot stand, man. I cannot stand when I hear white people like, oh, if I go to the hood, I'm just gonna get my ass beat. You're projecting, motherfucker. You're projecting. You're not gonna have anything happen to your ass in the hood. You could walk around outside and most people just aren't even gonna fuck with you at all. The police definitely ain't gonna. And the people that's there, they're not thinking about your ass. As soon as we go to one of their neighborhoods, they're thinking about us. How many hood Karen videos do you see of some hood motherfuckers harassing some white people that happen to stop somewhere and shop in the hood? But at the same time, no, a lot of white people purposely don't stop and shop in the hood because they're constantly actively boycotting our businesses to try to keep that racial wealth gap open. If you don't think they calculate that shit, they do. That's one of the reasons why they open up those nursing homes in the hood. Do you all know that nursing homes are one of the ways that they suck generational wealth out of people? Because they'll get your parents or your grandparents into a nursing home, and what ends up happening then is, if they don't have the cash money to pay for it, they take their Social Security and their assets. This is a white person saying this right here. And it's a white person that's never gone through the hood. It's a scary little white dude that's just talking shit. And here's how you can get easily debunked. A white incel who's deranged in the brain, just like your weird ass on Twitch, walked through a Tops in Buffalo. 2 days. The first day pacing the facility, and the second day killing black people. And nobody said shit to him because black people ain't thinking about you all like that. And if you cool, motherfuckers reciprocate. It's you all who have those tribalistic issues where if somebody goes to a high end neighborhood where the people are supposed to be of a higher grade, you're acting crazy. I'm not attacking the wrong people. I'm attacking the right person. You're an idiot, and I don't like stupid people. And you're dumb. I'm attacking you. And if multiculturalism is so bad, then why didn't white people stay their asses in Europe? Why the fuck did y'all multiculturalize the entire world? Why didn't you stay in that cold wasteland rock that you were designated and keep your asses there so you could make sure that you have generations of green eyes and blue eyes and blonde hair and red hair? Why the fuck did you go anywhere else? You only have yourself to blame for multiculturalism. Take some accountability. You created a mess and think that somebody else is supposed to mop it up. That's not how that shit works. When a European goes to Africa, what is that called? Multiculturalism. No. And those people, them folks, are European. European. They come from the same wastelands that you do. And last time I checked, a lot of idiotic people like you think that Vikings were the first people in the United States. Let's just entertain that argument. Let's just entertain for your stupid ass that Vikings came to the United States first. And let's just assume that they were white. They weren't Jays, and they came to places where Inuit people were. And that's multiculturalism. That's multiculturalism. All of your woes about multiculturalism are your own problem, your own issue that you caused. No one owes you any sympathy about your woes with multiculturalism, but you always have the option to go back to Europe. You can always go back to a cave. Nobody's stopping you. Last time I checked, the caucus was still vacant. Because it's you people that always say that somebody else needs to go back to somewhere when everybody is where they're supposed to be. Last time I checked, British people weren't indigenous to Hong Kong. We never came to America. That would be white people with multiculturalism. So no, Africans don't need to go back to Africa. And all the people here are not African. It was the allegedly high IQ white people who initiated the transatlantic slave trade. And just like everything European fails, he said multiculturalism failed. Multiculturalism is a European thing, and it failed. Imagine that. Imagine that. You have a culture of no accountability. You have a culture that spreads diseases and causes monkeypox. You have a culture that's created weapons that are capable of destroying the entire world. You got a lot of mirror time you need to take before you look at other people's cultures talking crazy. Nothing unique. Nothing unique about your culture. Multiculturalism is an absolutely European concept. Every single European country went somewhere that was outside of Europe, and they did it first. Not only did they go somewhere that was outside of Europe, they brought people all over the place. Do you know the white slavery that you people cry about? The white slavery. One thing that they don't teach about white slavery is that it was white Christians selling other white people. Now, next time Matt Walsh decides to make a video about that, I want you to leave that in his comments section. Why don't you leave that in this comment section and then take a bath and get out of it wet and go suck on a plugged in Daily Wire? Why don't you do that? You know what I'm saying? It don't make me go down to the DNA on you. You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares. Nobody gives two flying fucks about your position on the political spectrum. Nobody gives two flying fucks that you're breathing either. You know what I'm saying? You're a wandering internet clown that has no life. That wound up on the wrong side of Twitch. You know what I'm saying? This dude says that I have a multiculturalism plan. Your ancestors had a multiculturalism plan. I haven't said one thing about multiculturalism except for the fact that white people who live in the hood don't get ran out of the hood the way that they should in retaliation to the way that white people try to run black people out of black areas. I swear to God, I wish a motherfucker like you or one of those incel weirdos would try to run up on me and do anything. That is my wish. Look, he says that I'm talking to myself. There's nobody listening because this dude is so multidimensional with his alleged high IQ with that Iceman shit that he doesn't know about multi-streaming. Anyway, let's get back to talking about this guy's culture. You know what I'm saying? Dirty whiteness. So now here it says in 1960, he was 13. South Deering was 99% white. But at the time he graduated from high school, the town was changing so profoundly, with black parents demanding an equal access and local politicians behind the scene and all dead set against it. Now, this is how stupid these people are. And this is the victim mentality of these frail pales. You know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here asking the question, why would somebody move into this scummy ass area with all this milk? And this motherfucker sitting up here talking about multiculturalism. He's sitting there talking about multiculturalism. And I'm sitting here asking those black people, why would you want to go live around the Lice neighborhood? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense. But somehow in his homicidal brain, he's thinking of multiculturalism. If you ever listen to any like white manosphere content, they make a lot of videos about how white men prefer Asian women. Isn't that multiculturalism? Isn't that intersectionality? These people don't stand on anything, which is why, in order to deal with this kind of nonsense, they have to be stood on. You don't take like a nice approach with these kind of motherfuckers. Because these kind of motherfuckers aren't trying to be nice to you. They're not trying to be your friend. These people come into any kind of situation or anything at all and think that you're just dumb and whatever they say, you'll believe it. Make a motherfucker prove themselves. No, you're not laughing. You're not laughing at all. It's sad that you got to lie like that. And what's even more sad is how scared you are of your own shadow. That shit is crazy to me. You know who's doomed? People like you. Because if people like you continue to breathe and you breathe around me, you got the wrong one. And it won't just be you. It'll be your whole Discord crew. I got to ask the question. Why is it that white supremacists who are supposed to be so fearless always pump fake on everything? Why do y'all pump fake? Why do you get right to the power grid and then you just don't do it? What happened with that Adam Waffen shit in Maryland? They got right up to it and then they just didn't do it. They just didn't have what it took. Just didn't have what it took to pull the trigger. What happened? They just didn't have what it took to take down that power grid. What y'all so scared of? What you so scared of? You scared of the feds? The feds is on your side, dude. The fuck you talking about? The delusion is real, man. Oh yeah, the feds are on your side. Ask your boy Peyton Gendron. No, I'm not naive. You're naive to think that you choose how long you get to continue breathing. You're naive to think that you control anything. The only thing that I know about National Socialists is that they're a remnant of a military faction that got destroyed in the 1940s, and they're no longer existent, and they don't own any significant military equipment to do anything of any consequence to anybody except for make somebody laugh with some silly looking boots and red suspenders. That's about it. Is there anything else that you're supposed to do, like, besides that? I think y'all like young girls too, like minors. But besides that, is there anything else? So I find it interesting that you said when you first came in that you're further to the right than Matt Walsh. And now you're saying you're a socialist, a national socialist, a clown, like the original clowns that got destroyed in World War II. I think that in World War II, the SS got beaten worse than any military has ever gotten beaten in the entire world. Y'all got beat so bad they split the country in two. And two factions that didn't even get along just said, I'll take one half, y'all take the other half. How pathetic is that? What kind of race war did y'all think y'all was going to win? Look at the everywhere where there's some Nazis, there's some serious ass kicking going on. Why is Ukraine getting the shit beat out of them by Russia? Don't they have the power of your ancestral Viking gods like Thor? Why are they getting lit up by Putin? Anybody remember that guy in the UFC? The Scandinavian dude who John Jones beat the brakes off of definitively twice? No, my thinking is reality. And my thinking is your reality, where people with the black sun on their flag are getting the shit beat out of them every day. Germany, SS Reich is no longer in existence. The only reason why you have any kind of ideology at all is because your DNA is so weak, you fear not existing. You know what I'm saying? It's pathetic. Everybody dies. Everybody's got an expiration date. Don't feel so bad about yourself that you're the chosen people. You're just chosen to expire first. That's gotta suck, man. Hold on, let's actually examine that. That's gotta suck. Think about that, man. You gotta run around like a chicken with your fucking head cut off because you think you're just gonna evaporate. You think you're gonna evaporate. Water evaporates. You know what I'm saying? Humans usually don't. But you will spend your whole MRDD check on a brand new AR-15 because you think attacking the power grid is going to help keep your sorry ass on the earth for a couple more minutes. Birth rates are plummeting because of one thing, you know what I'm saying? And it's called genetic irregularities. It's also called when you have a culture of men on men that usually doesn't produce a child. So let me guess. The next thing you're going to say is that there's no man on man culture in Europe. We got to ask why the monkeypox numbers are so high in Europe. Like that reporter said when Ukraine was getting their asses beat. I can't watch this happening in Europe. Oh, man. Yeah, that's again your culture. So now you're blaming things from your culture, which is multiculturalism and bussy, and not taking any accountability for it. Start finding some women. Stop being an incel. A lot of you are incels. You're fucking losers. You're weirdos. You know what I'm saying? You got no social skills. You're a ticking time bomb waiting to shoot up a bus station because your mom told you to clean up the trash or go wipe your ass or get in the shower because you smell like shit. Get a goddamn life. And after you get a life, get a woman in it. Get some of that tension off. This motherfucker gonna say because gays. You mad because they taking up all the ass? What kind of ass is it that you interested in there, motherfucker? This dude says you're a fool to think if one people all had the same culture. Who said that one people have the same culture? I said your culture is degenerate. I don't even believe in the out of Africa theory. So we definitely don't have the same culture. I will take my time with a troll, man. I will roast your motherfucking ass all day. You will play a new kind of Russian roulette by the time I get done with you. You will pick which car you want to jump in front of. That shit is amazing to me. And this is the reason why I entertain trolls is to make a point. Just like this person right here, that person is somebody's child. And everything they know and everything they learn, they got it from their parents. Just like how when he was 5, when a black family moved into the neighborhood and his neighbors responded with rocks and racial slurs. In 1960, he was 13 and South Deering was 99% white. But by the time he graduated from high school, the town was changing profoundly, with black parents demanding access to an equal education and local politicians behind behind the scenes powers all dead set against it. Now here's my question. Why did these black parents want education from these white schools for their kids? Did that make any sense? See, like, there's a lot of stuff that I question, like, about this kind of stuff from like back in the day. Why would you want those areas to teach your kids? What are they gonna teach your kids? That when you move into an area like that, you're supposed to get stoned and rocks thrown at you? Like, what could they possibly do for your kids? Do you guys see what I'm saying? If you guys see what I'm saying, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't see what I'm saying, give me a thumbs down. What could they possibly do for your kids? You know what I mean? Italia says my cubicle mates are like, what? So now here it says Burge enlisted in 1966 and went to Vietnam 2 years later. All right. On his return, he later joined the police department and quickly made detective. He was sent to a station called Area 2, which covered a large swath of South Side, including South Deering. He tortured his first documented victim in 1973, a year when the city clocked 846 murders. His officers had arrested a man named Anthony Holmes on suspicion of murder and wanted to identify him an accomplice. When Holmes refused, the officers left him handcuffed in an Area 2 investigation room and went to find Burge. A few minutes later, Burge strolled in the interrogation room with a mysterious box in brown paper bag. The box had a hand crank in one end and 2 wires with alligator clamps coming out of the other end. According to the trial testimony decades later, Burge then picked up the alligator clamps and barked, "Nigger, you're going to tell me what I want to know." He fastened the alligator clamps and pulled a plastic bag down over Holmes' head, warning him not to bite through it when the pain hit. Then he started turning the crank. When the first blast of electricity rolled through him, Holmes bit through the plastic bag, a reflection that opened a vent for his screams of agony. Then everything went black. When he woke up, Burge was putting a fresh plastic bag over his head. A terrible panic of suffocation compounded the pain of electric shocks. A rumor in the department had it that Burge had first perfected these techniques on North Vietnamese prisoners of war. So again, this is them. This is them. You know what I'm saying? Culture. And then they want to squirm and move away from it. Oh, well, we don't do this. This is what they do. They won't even be accountable. These people like to say these women are fucked up because of Western culture. Who created Western culture, or who destroyed Western culture and created a new culture? Where did Western culture come from? Western culture came from Europe. So go back to Europe if you don't like the mess that you made everywhere else. But the problem is that for the most part, Europeans have multiculturalized and messed up the entire world. You need to look in the mirror and ask yourself that. Your ancestors and your people are the ones that multiculturalized the entire world. And now you're worried that one day you might be born with black hair and a little bit of a tan. Nobody cares. That's a you problem. Not only do you yourself have an expiration date, the actual pseudo continent of Europe has an expiration date as well. If I'm not mistaken, by 2060, it's going to be a part of the Atlantic Ocean anyway, or a part of the Atlantic Ocean anyway. Then you'll be wishing for multiculturalism because you'll want to breed your little weak DNA into somebody else, just so there can be just some remnant of us left, just some remnant. Somebody might come out with a blonde pubic hair, but that'll probably be all that's left. I would say that nobody gives a shit about European people, and the class of people that you're talking about in the West that you claim have an issue with European people are European. And I don't think it's my concern. I think if you have an issue with those people, I think you should go fight them. Handle your business and get the fuck out of mine. Handle your business. Yeah, yes, they are. You all share DNA. You all are the same race. You all check the same box on a job application. You all did business together. You all shared Great Britain and the Netherlands. It's just so funny to hear these fucking translucent morons come into the fucking chat like licorice that doesn't have any food coloring in it and just want to attempt to tell everybody about their history, and you don't even know your own. Instead of telling us about what was going on with slavery, which we already know, what you should do is come back with the date when the first translucent person walked on two legs and bring that back to us. Yeah, I do have a monkey IQ. His name is Caesar. His name is Caesar. And you happen to be human. I.e., not a threat. So now here it says, birds released another blast of electricity. Again, Holmes felt 1,000 needles piercing every nerve in his body, and they kept on piercing and piercing until his brain couldn't take it and everything went black again. He woke up, Burge was laughing and preparing his infernal box. He called it the nigger box. So it sounds like that guy over on Twitch. Sounds like something that his parents would say. Or his aunt and uncle, which are probably the same as his parents. Look at this. Look, these people ask the same questions all the time. This guy has got to be some fucking pencil neck moron. You some black Israelite. Where do they get these people from? Where do they get these people from? Don't you have a bomb threat to call in somewhere? Don't you got a bomb threat to call in somewhere? Or don't you got a high school to go terrorize or something? Because that's what you motherfuckers do. And y'all do it right with Twitch on. Facts. Super facts, Donnie. They're all the same. They get so pissed off when you remind them of that shit. There's genetic journals out there that prove this. And the thing that's interesting about this is like this dude is sitting here talking about what he's not. And he doesn't even know what a codon is. He doesn't know what a gene is or how a gene is constructed. Nothing. Just a fucking needle-nosed idiot that's used to going anywhere and spewing nonsense and letting that shit pass. Man, fuck that shit. We slapping that shit out the hoop like Shaq. The fuck out of here. Give a fuck about you. You know what I'm saying? And don't nobody respect your stupid ass either. Look at this. The deflection is real. He going to the Tucker Carlson playbook. So now the funny thing is that these fucking idiots act like we don't know this shit already. This is their culture. I want y'all to observe this shit. This is their culture. These motherfuckers really think that they're so superior to you that they know more than you. So they just come in and babble about your history. This is one of the reasons why these motherfuckers always attempt to co-opt Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. You ever notice how you never hear them quoting anybody white? No, I didn't say anything about class. I said race. You all are the same DNA. As far as class, they probably don't look at you as the same class. They probably look at you as trash. They clearly have more power and resources and influence and anything than your dirty ass. So me or them are not looking at you or them as if they're in the same class. So let's just get that clear. I said race. You're European. They're European. So here's my thing. Why don't you go and cry about it? Because I don't believe in the Torah. I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in the Quran. And I don't believe in white supremacy. But look at how that shit has your panties in the bunch. And you people do wear panties. So I don't mean that facetiously. I mean them motherfucking nylons that you have on, that pair of legs that you have pulled all the way up to your ass crack has got you so agitated right now. They are really in a bunch, knotted. You know what I'm saying? Blacks never cry about equality. Why the fuck would we cry about equality? You people are the only ones that need to cry about equality. You need to get better bone density so that when you fall down, you don't break like Mr. Glass because you are susceptible to osteoporosis. You need to do something about your skin so that you don't spontaneously combust when you walk into the sun. We don't need to do that. It's not us that needs any kind of equality of anything. This dude is talking about affirmative action that helps white women. The biggest group of affirmative action recipients is white women, and he's triggered. The biggest group of people on welfare is whites, and it's not the ones that you were talking about that you're so scared of. You know, those ones that got all the money and just make you look like you aren't shit in the world. Those ones that you're jealous of, that other group of white people, because you're all white. I'm sitting here listening to an idiot who's never had a conversation with me about my worldview tell me what he thinks my worldview is, because you're an idiot. Because like I'm just watching you like a lab rat. Because this is my lab and you're a rat. And your behavior is so predictable. The only thing that I could do to be a decent human being is tell you that you need to start moving better before you end up in a natural history museum like your worst fear, your worst nightmare. Like, that shit is amazing to me how obsessed you are with your expiration date. Did you figure out when it is yet? Did you figure out what your expiration date is? How much time you got? How you gonna slow it down? How you gonna slow down the inevitable? That shit gotta suck. Think about this, right? Think about this. If there was some force that you couldn't see, some force that you couldn't control, and you know that shit was just coming to erase your existence out of reality, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. Think about that shit. That's gotta suck. If only I felt bad. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says he confessed to a murder that he didn't commit. So shout out to old boy over there on Twitch. This is what his people are out here making people do. And he's crying about multiculturalism. The only ethno state you'll be going to is the realm of nothingness, because everything is the same in the realm of nothingness. Oblivion is going to be looking real nice for you around that time of year. You know what I'm saying? So now here it says, during the decades he spent in prison as his wife divorced him and 8 members of his family died, his memories of the torture stayed fresh. They were still fresh decades later when he offered a violent victim impact statement about that night during one of many attempts to bring Burge to justice. So, you know, this, like, you know, white people would sit here and say, because he was filling out a victim impact statement, that this guy was being a victim. You know what I'm saying? Because that's just what they do. Y'all seen it in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Lloyd, don't even try to explain anything to a fucking cretin. The only thing that you need to explain to a cretin is just the same thing that cretins have. The only thing that they have is the fact that they're a fucking idiot. So just continue to remind him that, and he'll be all good. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker wanted to take the time and give you the history of Dutch blackface, as if motherfuckers don't know that shit already. What I find fascinating is that anytime any of these roaming Chads decides to grace us with their presence, one thing that they don't talk about is the dim folks community that were involved in the SS Reich. He said, "Oh, boo, blackface. I know if you had a blackface, maybe yours wouldn't melt off when you go in the sun. But because it does, yours ends up looking like somebody slapped the shit out of you about 5 times after being outside for about 15 minutes. I'd rather have a black face." So it's understandable why you people do that. It's literally understandable why you guys mimic every single thing that we do. Because if you didn't, you'd probably have expired already. Because again, you are the special people with an expiration date. Which I find fascinating because in the Bible that you all have altered, it's chosen people that are supposed to live forever. But what you were chosen for is an expiration date. So what does that say? Coming from your own book. That's some of that Western shit, right? You like Christianity, don't you? No, I'm obsessed about you answering my question. And I'm obsessed about you enjoying your bucket list. You know what I'm saying? You have a good time. Just make sure you don't forget to kick it. Just don't forget to kick it. And you know what else I find interesting? You're obsessed with my stream. And you're obsessed with being abused. And you came to the right place because I'll abuse the shit out of you. So now here it says during the decades he spent in prison, and as his wife divorced him, and eight of his family members died, his memories of torture stayed fresh. They were still fresh decades later when he offered a violent victim impact statement about that night during one of the many attempts to bring Burge to justice. So now here it says, I still have nightmares, not as bad as they were, but I still have them. I wake up in a cold sweat. I still fear that I'm going back to jail for this again. I see myself in a deep hole and no one helping me get out. That is what it feels like. I felt hopeless and helpless when it happened. And when I dream, I feel like I'm in that room again, screaming for help, and no one comes to help me. I keep trying to turn the dream around, but it keeps being the same. I can never expect when I will have a dream. I just lay down all night and then I will wake up and the bed is soaked. So this dude has been traumatized. You know what I'm saying? This dude said behind ye Mike. This dude talks like somebody that hasn't bathed in weeks. What do you think of ye? I don't. Remember, I'm not European. I don't think of men. You know what I'm saying? I think about beautiful women. That's your culture to obsess over other men. You missed a paragraph when we were in this article here talking about when some white cop was grabbing somebody's ball sack. You know what I'm saying? That's that Roman shit. Y'all motherfuckers like to get buttered up and roll around, you know what I'm saying, like a damn stick of butter running around on a damn plate. That we don't get down like that though. So I don't really think about Kanye all like that. You know what I'm saying? This motherfucker said, listen to this. Check. This is the nail in the coffin right here. This dude said blacks be gay for George Floyd when George Floyd died because a white man wouldn't get off of him. Bro, that white man was on top of George Floyd. Yet again, a white man on top of somebody. And you sit up here talking about blacks be gay for George Floyd. When George Floyd died with a white man that wasn't supposed to be on top of him, because y'all just can't stay the fuck off of people. Just degenerate. You know what I'm saying? Just degenerate. The race killings tend to be homoerotic. Facts. Facts, Bronze. Get this kid out of here with a comment like that. Negative sense IQ response. He's probably like about 13 years old. He probably one of those Aiden Fucci worshipers. This dude want to be Aiden Fucci when he grows up. This dude want to be Aiden Fucci when he grows up. Yeah, we ain't on that Alexander the Greek shit. What's up with that though, man? What's up with that? Well, y'all weirdos got that slong obsession and shit, man. You got your own motherfucking equipment attached to you. Worry about that shit. Cassie said, is he on Twitch? Am I mod? I don't know how to assign mods on Twitch. Buck breaking. right, Lloyd. Man, that's too funny. that is too funny. And I'm laughing my motherfucking ass off. Milk 35. Oh, this got to be that motherfucker from Twitch. Yeah, dude. My name is fucking Milk 35. I don't fucking give a fuck. I'm here, motherfucker. This is what white people do. They do that shit that Milk 35 just did. You come to a place where there's a majority of black people and then turn around and be like, and then turn around and be like, there's too much diversity. He said it's not him. So my bad, Milk. If you're not him, then my bad. He said that ain't me. He can't shoot up the chat. He'll try. You know what I'm saying? He'll try. He'll shoot that motherfucker up. Fuck all you guys. You know what I'm saying? No. Put the gun away and unzip your pants with your weird, or put the gun away and zip your pants up with your weird ass. You know what I'm saying? None of the such is going down. Milk said, "What's up, bro? My bad, Milk. If you ain't the dude on Twitch, I thought you was old boy on Twitch." Milk, like, damn, I just came over here and said, "What's up?" Okay, nah, you good, bro. Don't even trip. You good. Milk, like, damn, I just came over here in the middle of something. You know what I'm saying? You good, bro. Don't even trip. We just talking shit. Oh shit. Don't worry about it. Look at this. This is how these motherfuckers be all interested in what you got going on and shit. Don't worry about what the fuck going on over here. You keep your ass over there. You don't like multiculturalism and diversity, so keep your dumb ass where it's only one of you at. You know what I'm saying? Do you see the shit that these motherfuckers do? Well, how many people are over on YouTube? So I can go over to the YouTube. So you stay in the white side of town. The fuck? You're not invited to the barbecue. You keep that nasty dishwater ass Kool-Aid that you got over there. You know what I'm saying? We got ribs and shit over here. Right. Lloyd trying to tell you, stay over here. Stay your ass over there. Don't bring your funky ass over here to this side. Unless you take a shower first or something. Right. That's all these motherfuckers be wanting to do is just find some shit. Find some shit to shoot up. whether it's some heroin or a damn classroom, these motherfuckers just can't stop. Hey. I'm laughing so hard. You don't need to be curious. Stay your ass over there on Twitch. This is white people, though. This is what these motherfuckers do. Go to the center of where it's a bunch of niggas at and then be like, I can't stand this diversity. But see, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm not one of those motherfuckers that you're gonna get celebrated and shit. Man, you're gonna get blocked and roasted as soon as you get over here. So if you smart, you gotta keep your ass incognito. You know what I'm saying? Because you're gonna get popped, blocked, and rocked. You know what I'm saying? Shit. You ain't about to be Eminem over here. You about to be a melted ass Snickers bar. So now here it says the torture ring was great for Burge's career. So this motherfucker was out here torturing people, and that shit brought him notoriety in his career. I don't give a fuck what you mind. Like, I don't understand why you think I give a fuck about your opinion. Or again, about your life. You know what I'm saying? I do mind people that ain't supposed to be where they pop up at, which is why I kept telling you go back to Europe. And Africans stay in America. Yeah, Africans should absolutely stay in America because white people took them out of their natural habitat. Your people took them out of their natural habitat. As a matter of fact, your people took palm trees out of their natural habitat. Your people took iguanas out of their natural habitat. Your people took killer bees out of their natural habitat. Your people took carpenter hornets out of their natural habitat. Your people took God knows how many different animal species, as well as humans, out of their natural habitat. When you didn't come over here because you were running, like how you all came over here, we were captives in a degenerate war. The people who initiated the war are the ones that need to go back. It doesn't matter. This dude assumes that black people in America are somehow linked to or have some kind of unity and camaraderie with Africans. Milk said Isu needs to go back to the caucus. See, the interesting thing about Isu is that Isu believes that the world is theirs. They believe that the world is theirs. So is Europe. Look at Ukraine right now. It's in rubble. World wars has only occurred since European countries. World War I, World War II. Just a warlike culture. Y'all got a special needs culture. It's like a bunch of big children that can't figure out how to solve complex issues without weapons of mass destruction. No, just because you quote biblical terms doesn't make you a black Israelite. That's some real shit, Mike. Mike said Marx the clown doesn't get we've been trying to separate, but always find his piss blonde ilk trying to infest and sabotage our communities and businesses 24/7. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's super facts. We don't need to obtain any kind of identity. That's you that needs to obtain an identity. European culture. Go to other places in the world, and the first thing that they do is shoot the faces off of the monoliths there and then copy the culture and say that it's theirs. European people didn't even come up with the Fibonacci sequence. It was something that was stolen from Sanskrit. This dude said that even our group of clowns, he's calling us clowns, but he's the one with a white face. You're calling us clowns, but you're the one with a white face. Fuck out of here. You know, you ain't never looked at a clown before? This dude got self-hate issues. He got self-hate issues. Yeah, exactly. A white face and a red nose. I've never seen a black person with that, but okay. Again, like they just do that projection. That shit is hilarious. I'm telling you, man, it's nothing more fun than to just study one of these motherfuckers and poke at them and prod at them like a lab rat. Not gonna do anything anyway. Might make you laugh a couple times. You know what I'm saying? But it's just hilarious. So here goes another. Here it is again. The officer with the pump shotgun played Russian roulette on me by showing me the shotgun shell, then turning his back to me and says, "Listen, nigger." And all I could see was his back and not the shotgun nor the shell. And I heard 2 clicks of the shotgun being clicked. Then he turned to face me. Then he turned to face me, forcing the barrel in my mouth, saying, "Nigger, what are you going to tell us where AD is?" So this dude was out of pocket. This dude was completely out of pocket. They got a whole list of people, Lloyd. He ain't the only one. They got a whole laundry list. They got a whole Hall of Fame. This dude said, do something other than Netflix. Do something other than destroy the world and spread diseases. Please. Thank you. Now go back to my Netflix. So now here says Cannon said he didn't know, which he didn't, but the officer with the shotgun, Lieutenant Peter Dignan, Burgess second in command, shoved the shotgun into his mouth again. The other officer shouted, "Blow that nigger's head off." So they sounded like they was having a little type of powwow that Marks be over there having on Twitter and shit. You know what I'm saying? Or over there on Twitch. Just that kind of shit Marks and them be doing in a Discord. You know what I'm saying? So here's the complaint. Look at this. So I think because we already been live for like 3 hours. I think what I'm gonna have to do with this is long. This is actually just going to have to be a whole entire video of its own. Because look how long this is all the way down here. What do you guys think? You guys want me to dedicate a whole stream just to this story? If you guys want me to do that, give me a thumbs up. If you guys don't want me to do that, give me a thumbs down. Because I definitely will. But it's going to be in a couple days. It's not going to be like right away. So y'all got to give me a minute. But let me know if y'all want that. If y'all want me to finish that story. Because I think it's good to talk about. Because this is the kind of stuff that's going on with Tyree Nichols. And my thing is that this story here, this goes all the way back, I think, to 1982. Yeah. No, this goes back to 1983. So here's the thing, right? The police have been doing this kind of stuff for that long, and they're still having this fake police reform conversation. They're still having this police reform conversation. So how long has this shit been going on and nothing been getting done about it? It's been forever. So the reason why I say that is, if you ask me, the thing that makes the most sense is for us to start looking into methods of handling these kind of situations on our own. You know what I'm saying? So, ladies and gentlemen, players and pimps, I'm so appreciative of all you guys spending this time with me. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Make sure you guys smash that like button. Make sure you guys leave a comment at the end of the stream. Like I said, and as you guys have seen, I'm going to be using this channel a lot more, and I'm going to be using some of my other backup channels as well a lot more. And I'm going to be trying to put together some more content for you guys. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.